Welcome to Taxpayer Alert. I'm Al Segalla. I'll be your moderator. I'm also president of the Calaveras County Taxpayer Association. As you probably know by now, this program is right on top of the news going on in the county, especially things that are important to deal with government and your future. And sometimes you receive information here that you can find nowhere else. Our guests are almost always, without exception, exciting people that care about this county, and this guest is no exception. GaryTofanelli, Supervisor, and he was Supervisor before, and he's back at it now. Gary, welcome to the program.
Thank you, all. Glad to be here.
Gary, why are you coming back to be Supervisor again? You were before, and what do you see coming ahead that gets you excited about being Supervisor?
Well, Al, that's a good question. When the opportunity came up to run again for Supervisor, it was furthest thing from my mind. When I left the office in the end of 2012, I delved back into my company and got it running. The economy was starting to recover, so the construction business was starting to really take off as far as industrial and commercial, which is what I do, steel fabrication and erection. I do not do residential. I only do commercial and industrial buildings. And so, it was, things were going pretty good and really wasn't the furthest thing from my mind. Then I got several phone calls and emails from people asking me to please run again. And, I'd send an email back to them saying, no, I don't want to do that. I answer the telephone and say, no, it's not something I'm achieving to do or looking to do. But then more and more people continued to ask me, and when I went places, I'm very involved down in the Valley Springs area and somewhat up here. But at the time, I was president of Jenny Lind Veterans Memorial District, president of the Valley Springs ABA, longtime member of the Boosters down there, and the Boosters are the people that put on the fireworks show in Valley Springs over Hogan every year. Been involved in that for many, many years. And several other organizations there, Rotary Club, West Calaveras Rotary Club, was past president of that. And so people said, you're involved here in the community, you care about the community, you care about Calaveras County. I'm a long-time resident here. And so I had a conversation with my wife, and it was a long conversation, asking me again, why do you want to do that? So I told her that I would at least sign up for it and get involved in it, and if we made it through the primary, right, that we'll see where it goes from there. So we did make it through the primary. I had a great committee. I had a large committee of a lot of people from all over the county that were really helping me in this campaign. I got to say, of the other times that I ran, this was the largest committee I've ever had that was really involved in it. And so we made it through the primary, and then we went on to November, and things started rolling, and here we are. We're here, and I've spent the time since November winging myself away from my business again so I can come and start this job free and clear and give it my undivided attention, and jump into all the things that are going on in this county right now. There's a lot of things that are happening. I ran on the platform that, and I'm still looking to, although we've only had one meeting, we've got some heavy issues coming up, but I'm looking to actually get a full-time economic development director here in this county. I think it's a long time needed. I think it's what we need here. That his job is to actively go out and procure businesses to relocate or start up here in this county. And as part of the county staff, he would be able to get them through the planning part of it. He'd be able to get them through the building part of it. He would be able to get them in the right direction, in the right areas to start their business or relocate their business with any buildings that exist right now in the proper zoning, and move forward. It's happening, and it's been happening for a long time in the surrounding counties, that people people keep saying that all the other counties, at Amador County and Tuolumne County, are all going past us. That's the reason why. They had in place economic development directors to help these businesses. And again, their full-time job is to go out and recruit and find business to bring to the county. I think it's a long time needed here. So that is one of the things I would like to actively pursue. Along with the other things that are happening in the county, we have midterm budget coming up. I'm very interested, very, very, very interested in finding out exactly where the county is right now in their spending departments and our income, what things look like as far as our general fund portion of it is. The other part of our budget is non-general fund, which means the fundings come from either the state or federal government earmarked for certain departments, and they have spending guidelines on how to spend that money. The general fund part of the budget is what the supervisors have primary jurisdiction over how to spend it. So it's the midterm will tell you where we are, what our income levels are, as far as what was projected at the time the budget was accepted in September, and what we have to do to realign through the rest of the year, come to June 30th, July 1st, and it will give us an opportunity to forecast and to craft the budget that will be presented to the board come July for our acceptance. Actually, it'd be the latter part of June. So
I understand the state has got some problems, and they lost track of over $1 billion through accounting errors, and it's not newly discovered money. It's money we don't have, and so. What do you think the effect of that's going to be on counties like Calaveras County?
Well, Al, it's the state situation, and people may not realize exactly what happens. When you pay your property taxes, yes, you write your check to Calaveras County.
Right.
And when you pay a sales tax or so forth, you say it's in Calaveras County. Well, that money goes to the state, and then the state reallocates the money to the counties. I think we're right now at property taxes, we get like 17% of the actual bill that you pay, and that's in 2 installments, and it's after the state processes all the checks that come in when you pay in April and you pay in December. Sales tax is a little bit different. They're calculated quarterly, I believe, and you get your percentage of it. You don't get, you pay 7 3/4, or other places like Stockton right now it's 10, but that's what was added on by the voters above what the state sales tax is, and so you get that proportion from the state. When I was on the board prior, it was during the recession.
Right.
And at that time, the state was going through some woeful funding problems. And so they actually withheld some of our payments for a period of time. So that's where it's very, very vital in situations like you're describing now. You don't know what the state is going to do because
Right.
we are a subsidiary of the state. The state has control of it. That you need to keep your reserve funding at a level that you can rely on it. We did during the 4 years that I was previously, as things were shrinking, we would always make sure that our reserves were at levels we could depend on it, because a lot of times the auditor controller needs to dip in to pay funds, and she obviously pays it back when the state funds come. But you get down to low cash flows, and you need time, or you need the money to be able to dip, much like you do in your savings. You have to dip into it to get through some tough times. And so it's very critical that you maintain a certain level of those funds available, so the time comes if the state says we need to at least take some of the money from the counties in order to pay or allocate this $1 billion to the funding levels we need it to be, or where it was meant to go. And so they will withhold, if they want to, money from the counties. And eventually they pay it back, but it takes time for that to do. In the meantime, you have to rely on your reserve accounts to pay it.
You think there's anything the counties could do, maybe through CSAC or some other organizations to encourage the state to be more financially responsible?
That through RCRC or through CSAC, yes, and I think it's happened before. I think they've continue to lobby for that exact same thing. But
how can you trust them?
But yeah, it's not like the local level where I go into Marvell or I go into Senders or I go into any of the areas down here, Treats, and people know who I am, and people, hey, Gary, blah, 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 and they let you know how they feel about things. They don't have a Brown Act that they follow. They're not in front of the public. We have a board meeting, we're in front of the public. So we get to hear from the local level about a lot of things, and that's the way it should be. At the local level, you should know your supervisor. You should be able to approach him or her. And have a conversation with them and tell them how you feel about things. That's it's part of our job.
Yeah, I understand. The most important thing is that that we have accountability at the state level, and of course at the county level as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And so that gets into we've had so much disaster over this last period of time, and also the housing crisis and the recession. We had 30% loss of income and 30% reduction in expenditures for employees, and then a lot of that I understand was triggered by lower values on real estate.
Real estate.
Yeah, and so the assessor is required by law to lower the taxes when the value goes down.
Correct.
And which she did, and I understand she got some criticism, but she's doing her job.
Again, we're talking back during the recession part of it, and that's correct. Leslie took a lot of the heat from it, and from a couple of supervisors and other people devaluing property. But you're absolutely correct. She is bound by law to do that. Of course, as property values start coming back up, she's bound by law to bring those back up.
Right.
And any reduction that was done during the period of reduction is not actually capped by the 2%. On the Prop 13, it can go back up as market values go up until it reaches the point it was the level before.
And then recapture.
Recapture. Yeah. And then it kicks in Prop 13. So that's correct.
Yeah. Well, apparently our county seems to be operating with quite a bit of sunshine. There's not very much we know about that's going on that of course, if we don't know what's going on, there's no sunshine in what we don't know. But I think that we do. We're aware, and we have we've got a good auditor controller that's really paying attention to what's going on. One of the things was that came up was the waste haulers. They wanted to initially tax. They wanted to force business to pay, not only use the waste hauler, but to greatly increase their fees for doing so, where a lot of business just couldn't afford it. They'd lose their business.
Well, not at the business level, but at the local level, the residential areas also.
Well, they wouldn't force the residential people.
Well, they wouldn't force it, but you're right. They're going
to force the commercial. And our little group, and the auditor controller, she's the one that blew the whistle.
Yes, she was.
And boy, that I got scrapped in a hurry, which we consider one of our accomplishments.
Well, good.
Well, hopefully we won't see more of that, but if we do, then we need to blow the whistle and do the same thing.
I agree with you. Yes, it all has to be out in the open and on the level, and all of that stuff is certainly on my agenda to make sure that the constituents of not only District 1 but of all of Calaveras County is aware of anything like that coming down. But it's interesting you brought up that Cal Waste contract, even though it was that portion was taken out of it. Right. I've received, since I've been in office and just before I came into office and took the oath, a tremendous amount of emails and phone calls from people complaining about the size of their bill,
right,
and how much it's increased. Some people are saying it's increased 400%
right.
from this contract, and I got a copy of that contract, and I'm going through that contract right now, looking for areas that we can look to improve and help people and get costs down,
Right.
To everybody, to a level that we're not seeing people just having trash on the sides of the roads, calling for us to clean up stuff, appliances, what have you, just all over the roads, because in essence, that's very possible with people on fixed incomes not being able to pay that size of an increase, and not being able to just take out to the county dump. Now, the county dumps and the transfer stations are still free for you to do that and go out there. It's just when you pay for the service at your home. But again, it limits the people that were paying for it and using the service simply because that's the method that they had that worked for them,
Right.
Because of their limited income or ability to even have a pickup or something to take their trash out there.
Right.
And so it's affecting everybody. And also, businesses have called me and told me, I was part of, like I said, Jenny Lynn Veterans Memorial District. It's affected us down there. It was an increase of about 425%. And to us at the time when I was there, and still to them now, it just did not fit our budget, because we're building that new building down there and we're trying to get that accomplished, and it's getting close. We had some problems with PG&E, but I can see the businesses the same way. You know, there are a lot of businesses out here, in being part of and for a long time and president of Valley Springs ABA. I'm well aware of, the trials and tribulations of businesses,
Yeah.
and the ups and downs of being a business owner myself.
Right.
So just to get a sudden increase like that, it just it's like a backhand sometimes when you open it up and find out, oh my God, what's going on here? What did I do? So I do have a contract. I am going through it. I am meeting with county council to go through that contract and see what we can do to alleviate costs for everybody, business down to residential and on.
That kind of segues into solid waste. We have a facility, and we had a tax. I think it was $150
$150
per parcel, and the plan was that would not only provide the funds to create the solid waste facility, but also be able to do future expansions. And it turns out that there's no money been set aside for future expansions. And so we're moving to a position now in a matter of few years, that we need to expand, but we don't have the money to do it.
And when I was on the board before, I have to say that I don't believe that was the case. There was money being set aside. At one time, I think we had like $4 million in an account set aside for that, and money was trickling in. And that time, the Public Works Director was looking for areas to bring in money.
Right.
I need to look into that portion of it, because you are right. That cell will eventually get close to being filled,
right.
And there's regulations on what you have to do, not only to cover that cell, and you have to regulate it, you have to have sensors for methane gas on it, and all kinds of stuff in order just to close it, and then you have regulations to open a new cell on things you need to do to treat where the area that you've dug out so that things don't permeate down into the ground and so forth.
It's more expensive now than was anticipated before because of the increased amount of regulation.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct. Even the 4 years that I've been gone off the board, yes, things have changed. They're always changing in California. It's my business. The regulations I went through for my business in the last 4 years to stay open have changed.
Well, we have to encourage the state to be more responsible.
But it's the way things are, and you adapt to what it is, and if you're going to stay in the ball game,
right.
And obviously we need to stay in the ball game.
Yeah, true.
But it is something that's coming and it needs to be addressed. And, people can help by recycling. There's a lot of recycling centers that have opened up in areas around. So if you can recycle.
I do that myself.
Yeah, it'll help keeping it out of the landfill. So it will prolong the time. But again, I will look into where we are on that fund, because I know there was a fund there at one time. And someone, just thinking back here while I was running during the election period, someone was telling me that there was $6 million in an account right now.
Yeah, at the beginning.
But so I don't know where that's at now, though. I need to ask Jeff Krovitz or even the CAO where that account stands. So.
One of the considerations that some of the supervisors and maybe some others are concerned with is improving the communications between the supervisors, department heads, and the CAO. And there was some perception that perhaps supervisors were dealing directly with department heads, and which kind of interfered with the relationship of the line structure. So I've looked at the organizational chart, and it does seem to be a line organization, and the CAO is really supposed to be in charge of the department heads, according to that chart. And so, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I do, and I've been in management for many, many years.
Yeah.
And I believe in that. And I practiced that before.
Yeah.
The only communications that I would have with department heads, and certainly wouldn't be on any direction on to do anything, any direction on how to run their operations or so forth. My communication with department heads, and I've gone over this with the new CAO, and I'd gone over it with Jeannie Boyce at the time, and even Robert Lawton, who was on board, that my only questions or communications primarily with the department head will be when they put something on the agenda,
right,
and I need to ask questions. I would like to alert them on the questions I'm going to ask them so they will be prepared.
That seems normal.
Yes, and also if I have a question from them, I would like to ask them before the meeting to find out from them what the answer to the question I have, so I will probably bring it up and ask that question again so the public is aware of it, because a lot of times on some of the major issues, the questions I have to department heads, they place something on there, has to do with a constituent or constituents that have asked me.
Right.
And so once I ask the question and get the information, I'm prepared, which I think every supervisor needs to be prepared on the agenda when it's before them and comes to them on all items, that I know the answer, and I know the department head knows I'm going to ask it, and they're prepared. I think it makes them look good, it makes us look good, and it's the way of doing business.
It gets results.
It gets results, exactly correct. So I think that's fair, but I would not. I think if there's any pressure that needs to be put on anything, and what you're hearing from the departments or people or complaints, is supervisors approach the CAO and have a conversation with the CAO and let them deal with whatever they do, because they are in charge. They were hired to run the day-to-day operations of the county.
Right.
And the Board of Supervisors will put policies in front of them, and it's their job to follow through on the policies.
Speaking about policies, we have a hot-button issue going on. This
We
is
do.
Cannabis.
Cannabis.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going away quickly.
Who would have thought that?
It looks like there's 3 choices coming up, maybe on the 24th. One is to put the ban, which has been successful, and getting signatures, put it on the ballot. The other one is to approve it under the signature of the Board of Supervisors, not go to the public with it. And the third one is to do nothing, in which case it would go to the public by registered voters, I think. Is that the 3 choices?
That is, but there's also another choice, and we can ask county council to go back and get some more information from us to bring it back in 30 days. So there is another option. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that is an option. We can say we need some monetary issues or whatever issues we need answered. take 30 days and come back to us with the answers to these questions.
But that 30 days starts at the time that the signatures
January
were
24th. Yeah, no, it starts from January 24th when it comes before the board.
Oh, I heard it was back at the time when it was certified.
No.
Okay.
It comes back to us because it hadn't been, only the votes were in front of us. The measure has not come before us to ask questions.
Okay.
So we need the period at that time of the 24th to ask the questions.
Yeah.
And so, that's an option. I'm not saying that's going to happen. Right now, I have not met with county council. I've had some questions on some emails with them, but I have an appointment to sit down with them and go over all of the situations and all of the options that are available for us. Because, again, I want to go prepared and ask them the questions before and then get the answers so I know what's going on and then ask the questions when it comes before the board on the 24th. So I do have an appointment with them tomorrow to go forward to ask them my questions that I have on it. And so I'm prepared and know, and be able to hear the general public and what's going on and make a decision based on all of the information in front of me. I try not to make a decision on things that I'm not prepared on.
Right.
I wouldn't do that in business. I don't do that in business.
You don't want to do any harm.
Well, I just want to make sure that I have an informed decision, and I let people know of my informed decision. This is why I'm doing this, or this is why I'm doing that, and these are the reasons why I'm going forward with it.
We have an urgency ordinance operating now.
Mm-hmm.
It takes 4 supervisors to approve. If it was going to be extended or modified, I think it would take 4 supervisors to do that. Mm-hmm. And there's some talk that maybe there won't be votes to do that, which means it expires in February. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe February 14th.
Yeah, Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. How about it? And, again, those are some of the questions I'll be addressing with county council on that issue when it comes to the board. What are our options? What, is a legal defense? What is legal? What can we do? Give me all the options that are possible and let me understand and take time to go through that. Again, on this one coming up on Tuesday, I know I will be locked in other than going to a crab feed that I committed to for the Friends of the Sheriff here.
I'm going to go to that one too.
You're going to that one too. That's a good one to go to.
Yeah.
I will be locked in on the agenda and going over all of the information over the weekend. So when I come Tuesday, I'm prepared.
Our Taxpayers group is putting together a taxpayer suggestion box, and we're vetting these questions.
We're
vetting these questions back and forth, and we get it where they make sense, and then we present to the supervisors or other people that might be interested. And we'll see how that works. If it works good, we'll continue doing it.
Yeah, you get a consensus anyway.
Yeah. Main thing is to try to deal with accurate information and facts.
That's the key, accurate information.
And don't attack people.
Because there's a lot, and don't attack people. That's correct. Because there's a lot of things going out and being said out there, and a lot of them not exactly true. Not to say people are trying to pass bad information. It just things get twisted sometimes when it gets down to certain areas, and that's the way. That's human.
Human beings have emotions.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and they use them all the time.
That's true. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But you try and get accurate information.
Yeah, if we can, I think if our group can work to that, we may not always be right, but if we can work toward that, I think we'll be able to help bring about a better tomorrow. Thank you for being our guest.
Oh, thanks, Al.
And thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert.